In functional programming languages, functions do not have side effects. So this means that functions can't modify data outside of its scope. What we're going to do is we're going to look at how this works, and we're going to just look at a couple of examples where we have side effects and where we don't have side effects. So let's make a start by creating a very simple function. We'll just call it func. Just has an input, and then I'm just going to do x equals 110, and we're just going to do x equals 10. So we're going to print out x, and then we're going to do func x, and then we're going to do print x. So we'll run the program and then we'll explain what's going on. So to start with, we set x equals 10. That's fine. We print it out. That gives us 10. We call our function, and within our function, it sets x to be equal to 110. And when we print out x again, even after we call the function, it still remains 10 because outside the scope, it's not been influenced by what's gone inside the function. So what's going on in the local scope of the function. So even though we set x to be 110, it hasn't changed what's going on outside of the scope. Now let's have a look at how that might work with a different situation where we have lists. Now I've already mentioned before that lists are mutable and variables are immutable. So let's have a look at what happens when we have a mutable object. So let's do func. So a new function, call it func2, and then we've got x again, and we're going to do x0 equals 110. So that's our func2. And if we do, again, we're going to do, so if we just comment out this code now, and then we're going to do x equals 0. We're going to print x, and then we're going to call out func2, and then print x. So let's have a look at what happens when we run the code now with a list instead of a variable. So let's run it. And you'll notice now that when we do pretty much the analogous experiment to what we've done before, but with a list instead of a variable, our values have now changed. So what's happened is that our value's been influenced by what's going on within the function. So our value here, we set it to be 110, and so therefore it's affected outside the scope. So this has side effects. So with the lists, because it's mutable, it's been affected outside of the scope, whereas for our immutable object, our function has not affected what's going outside of the scope. So that's just a contrasting idea there where you have side effects and where you don't have side effects.